Boys and girls, recently I was asked by a owner of a new laser machine how I go about making my stuff, and I thought, well, as well as explaining it to him, and we didn't have a chance to go through it in the day while they were visiting, I thought I'd make a video of how I make my puzzles. I didn't particularly want to make a new puzzle, so I went ahead and searched the internet for another puzzle. I didn't want to make a super complex one, so I came up with this three-piece puzzle. Here it is off the lathe, Jesus Christ, off the laser, designed in SketchUp, customised in CorelDraw, Trotec laser cut, and there's pieces here for 2 units. What I have to do is naturally pop out all the miscellaneous stuff like this and pop out these little plugs. These are little holes that I use for dowel alignment. Just makes it easier when you clamp, it doesn't slide and move. So look, I'll pop all these out and then on to the next part. Separated the hay from the chaff, and now we can throw all this crap out. And then what we need is 4mm dowels, or cut 4mm dowels, that will align 2 parts for glue up. With 2 of these puzzles and 4 dowels each, I've set up my jig to cut 24 dowels. Set it in there, cut. While these Jap saws are great, look, this is absolute bullshit, you know, doing this manual labour, that's for the peasants. I must admit, it's not worth, and I certainly wouldn't be bothered taking out my cross-cut sled for the table saw to do this, so I will do the next best thing, and I move over to my Milwaukee. It's actually called a cordless bandsaw, but really all it is a battery operated hacksaw. Just a hacksaw blade in there. Anyway, I shall do the remaining on this because hopefully it's going to be a bit quicker. Tension the blade, turn on the unit, zoom in a bit so you can see what the hell I'm doing, and hopefully off we go. We need 22 more of these. Actually, I've cut 24. I must untension the blade. You'll find that I've got this bucket under here. Primarily, as you might have noticed, bits and pieces were flying everywhere, and naturally some might have landed on the ground, which that one just did. And I don't have to chase them. I've actually, oh, there you are, looks like that one's split in half. So I'm glad I did make a few more. Hell, if I have to do one more, I might even do it manually. Okay, back into the other room. Now comes one of the jobs I really hate, because hopefully now I've got 24 little pieces of dowel. However, they all seem to, let's see if I can get it in there, have these, come on, focus on it, ragged edges. And when you slip those into the holes, they tend to break off, and once you've got glue on there, stick in the glue, and when you start laminating the two pieces together, they don't really fit super flush. And when these two pieces are you only have to have them separated by 1/2 mil or whatever, they won't slip in there too much. In fact, you'll find, see, you can see it there, it's quite a tight fit. Give it an extra bit of distance because of just some of these break off fluff or shavings or whatever you might call it. It won't fit too well even after this is lightly sanded. And of course you might even get a little bit of squeeze out in there inside, and that's not going to help. So what I've got to do is basically with sandpaper just round this off. Even though I'm going, these are quite long and I've got to cut a bit off it, I still have to sand that off, because as you put these in there, that's when the pieces break off and damage it. So it's not because of looks or to keep it neat. I hate this job because after doing about 6 of it, I start getting cramps in my fingers and all that. So anyway, I'll turn the camera off and labour away while you guys can go and have a drink. Finished sanding. Look, I've just done a zoom in on the area where I have been sanding. You'll notice some of those larger pieces. They're the ones that can break off and get trapped between the laminates, and they're the ones that cause you problems. For those of you that are not familiar with my technique of laser cutting MDFs and all that, my laser, while it can cut 9mm, 6mm is its most comfortable, or anything less than 6mm or 1/4 inch really is its comfort zone. So what I tend to do is, if I need thickness, width and length doesn't matter, thickness I build up out of layers of MDF, either 6mm or 3mm, and I try to adjust the scale if I can accordingly. And that's why you'll find, because I'm working in 6mm, these are now actually 24mm. Is it 24? Yeah, 24mm wide, and the length is in accordance, I think it's 60mm, so it's 10 lots of 60. And that way I can maintain the standard size, and as you can see how it goes through there. The dowels are ready, so what I'll do is just make sure you pair them up with the right pattern and all that. The way I designed it on SketchUp, they're all equidistant, these holes are, so it doesn't matter whether you put it in that way. With these ones where it doesn't matter, upside down, they are equidistant, so you will always find that that part in there is centered. So let's try this. We'll go this way. I always try and have the underside of the laser cut inside, because that's where the blowout is. However, okay, let's go. Bit of glue. Try not to, I usually put glue over the holes on the bottom layer, because when I press the dowel in there, it gives it something to stick on. I try not to put too much glue on, because naturally the more squeeze out you have, the more you got to clean up. Alright, slap in the dowels. Sometimes these dowels are actually quite tight, So they're probably about 4.1 mil. Now I use my little trusty dead blow hammer to hammer it in. Normally they just slip in, or maybe, no, I did do a 4 mil hole. So they're not so bad, but when I have to put the next layer in, that's going to be a pain in the ass. Yep. Now, get this the right orientation. Try to line it up, and let's hope. Normally I don't have to, actually this is quite strange, because normally I don't have to hammer these in, they just normally slip in. I'm just surprised. It's a good batch of measurements. Let's poke that down a bit. I poke these down a bit so there's a bit hanging out both ends, which means I've got to do more cutting, but at least it's better. Now, I'll get out a clamp. What I will do is give it a good squeeze to make sure it's seated properly. As you can see, I've got a bit of squeeze out. Grab a rag, wipe off the squeeze out, try and clean it up on the inside, because the outside, once it dries, I can get to the outside, but the inside is a pain in the bum, and if I've got to now then get two pieces in together, I'd rather have them not catch than have to file that, or file it, sand it down further. Then fortunately, just the design of this happens to be that I can get the clamp either side of the dowels, so I can get decent pressure on it and put it aside. There you are, that's one done. I've got 5 more to go, and I'll get back to you when they're done. One of the things I forgot to mention is that when I got the dowels in there, I usually give it a bit of a squeeze along the edge of the dowel, just a smidge of glue, so that when I hammer the other piece in, that one glues to it, because when I did the base, whatever glue I had over the holes gets pushed out through there, but you don't get any holding those holes, and rather than put glue in there, I do it that way. So that's it, and there I've buggered up the orientation, but it doesn't matter, because of there, that one's going on. No, I'm quite annoyed because of the effort it takes to slide it down on the dowel, because bugger it, you know, I wanted to do this in 1 or 2 minutes and not have to hammer. Okay, 4 more to go. Okay, all glued up, and while the glue is drying, thing to remember is that there's going to be these little bits of dowel sticking out, which I'll be cutting off with a flush cut saw. However, I'll also wanting to trim it up with my chisel, because it still leaves a fairly rough edge, and what better time than now to go and sharpen the chisel, or hone up the chisel. Nothing major, just a quick fire up of the Trotec, because the chisel should be relatively sharp. It's more a case of just giving it a bit of a polish, spread some goo on it, and not going to worry about jigs or anything like that. Just as I said, a quick make sure it's shiny all the way through. Just a few seconds. Clean up the back, take the burr off it. Should be enough. Ready to go. The glue has dried, so let's grab one. Let's pick a nice juicy one. This will do. Put the others aside. Take it out. Now the first thing to do is slap it into my little H&T Gordon, and let's just cut these little nibs off. I hate doing that because I always keep tripping over them. Put that aside. Now grab our newly sharpened chisel and just, actually I took a bit too much off, took a layer of MDF on, but just take that hair off. As you can see, you're not getting much, but oh look, you probably wouldn't even need to do that because sanding will take that off. And of course, try not to forget the flip side, otherwise you'll have to come back again, and be careful not to cut the chisel with this saw because the blades are so fine that a fairy's fart will break the tooth. And you've got to be careful too, because many a times I've held it there, that slipped. Just got to touch the flesh and it makes one hell of a dent. Well, when you say dent, not a dent, but it certainly draws blood. Oops, did it again. Okay, that's it. I'm not going to do any more. Well, I'll be doing the other four, but I'll let you guys go off and have a beer. Look, in all fairness, if your chisel's sharp enough, you should be able to take this off without having to cut it. But there you are. Damn, I was trying this before on the other side and it came off much easier. And now, well, there you are, that one's coming off easy. But you are cutting across the grain with the chisel and you're getting through quite a bit of it. So, no, I personally prefer cutting it. So I'll go back to the way I was. Forget that I even showed you this bit of movie. All cleaned up, or at least the dowel bits, the cut off and all that. Actually, I didn't do much work with the chisel because I cut it off pretty slim. I've got my Ross set up this way for sanding small pieces like this, because sanding it the other way, it's hard to hold it down on the tabletop and then try and sand that without sanding your hands. This way I found it the easiest way to do it. And because the sawdust actually sits on the top, because this is not the normal perforated abranet that I use, which is like that, which sucks everything right through, because it sits on top of this, it just floats around and gets sucked in anyway, so there's not too much of an issue with dust control. Alright, anyway, I'll show you basically. I'll only do one, maybe two, and then not waste any more film, and you can go and have another drink. Good God, you guys are going to be pissed by the time this video is finished. Okay, oh hang on, yeah, that's right. Is the camera on? Of course it is. That's why I'm talking. Turn this on. Now I only sand the two sides. I don't bother to sand that, however, that just reminds me I haven't cleaned up the glue squeeze out. But this is the time you check to see how well it fits, and as you can see, that fits okay getting in there, but I haven't checked out the squeeze out there or off the edges. So look, there's nothing magical about it. All I really do for the squeeze out, hang on, I'll go and grab my chisel here, chisel there, and all I really do is just run it down the side there, more like a scraper than anything else. I don't want to use the scraper only because the scraper will take too much of the burn mark off there, and I don't mind the charred remains. And then for the inside, actually, while I've got it there, I just use this 1/4 inch chisel and use the sides of it there as a scraper. As you can see, well, you might see, I don't know whether you can see or not. It'll clean it up. Then what I will do is, again, you can see all the squeeze out coming off, and all that, a lot of that will be tidied up during the buffing process, because the buffing process has got a cutting compound in it. So that's it. And again, you know, as I said, more drinks for you, more labour in the background for me. Okay, back again. Hope you're not too pissed, because it's been gone for a while. All sort of sanded, cleaned up a little bit. I haven't done anything much more to it because, as I said, it's got to be buffed. Now, I'm just going to have my first assembly, at least this batch, and I'll say this batch because this is the second lot of 2 that I'm making. I made a previous one, previous set, and I took the video, totally stuffed up the video, but in the demonstration of that video, that was the first time I tried to assemble this, and when I got this pattern, I didn't get the solution for it. So on my first maiden assembly, I tried to video record it. I struggled for about 5 minutes trying to get it started. Then in frustration I gave up. But since then now I know how to do it, so I can. You need one of each piece, throw the others away. Now I will have a SketchUp drawing somewhere which will also have the animation of how to assemble it. This little piece, you notice there's 2 of them, one with just one thing there and the other one's got 2 ways. This one you just put in there. Now you'll appreciate that this will come up because the buffing compound's got a cutting compound in it. It'll actually fit much easier. This piece here sits on top of that, and as long as you have, the laser is a very, very tight fit, so you haven't really got much room, and you just catch a corner and it'll never go down. I haven't caught the corner yet, I don't think. Yes, it's not so much the corner, that needs to go in about 1/2 mil. There you are. Goes down. And now, these 2 go across, and there you have it. It's a simple little puzzle once you know how to solve it. If you don't know how to solve it, look, it's not a super hard puzzle, it's just a nice, handy little, well, you know, I'd classify this as a nice little Christmas stocking stuffer, you know, just a stocking filler, not stuffer. Geez, you don't stuff stockings at Christmas, you just drink heaps of vino. Eggnog, whatever, alcohol. So that's it. As I said, very simple. I'll now move over to the buffer and I'll go through that. Although I've done a few videos on this, I might as well do just for one, or just for one piece, not a whole unit, just to make the video just that little bit more complete. I normally don't make videos of assemblies because I always bugger it up, which means I've got to do it again, and as my videos are non-scripted and all that, I've got to go through the whole bloody lot, and I don't like that. So anyway, as I said, I'll go and set the camera up in the other room where the buffer is, and we'll continue from there. Here I am near my buffer. What I do is I use the Bill buffing system, although there are many other buffing systems available. I've got basically 3 different buffers that I set up: a Tripoli, white diamond and a wax. Now usually I interchange this one with that when I get onto the wax, but this time for these small pieces I'm going to be lazy. I don't really need a super big one, and I'll do the waxing on the lathe and I'll move the camera over there. So let's turn it on, charge up the buffer, grab a piece, doesn't matter which piece. The one thing you've got to be careful of with the buffing is it doesn't rip it out of your hand. As you can see, probably, well, hopefully you can see, there hasn't been buffed. That is how it just really brings it up. And this diamond, not diamond, Tripoli, has got some sort of it's a bit of a cutting compound. The next one also does a bit of cutting, which is the white diamond, but the Tripoli does a lot of the work, and you won't notice it on these black bits, but it does actually brings it up, make it beautifully smooth. And really, normally what I might do is I might give it a coat of tung oil and wait a couple of days for it to dry, but this time, good God, just goes to show, got a sharp chisel. Lucky I haven't got blood all over it. You'll notice here now, hopefully the camera will come in, what it's like once I put the Tripoli on. You'll notice a difference straight away. And as I said, you've got to be careful that it doesn't snap it out of your hand, because unfortunately when he does that, it then bounces all over the room, and MDF dents quite easily. Same thing with pine. I tend to work mainly in pine and MDF, and I just hope to God you can bloody well hear me. Not that this is loud or screaming, but God, I'm surprised I haven't done my obligatory grunt. Normally every time I do something I always give it a grunt. Okay, now hopefully the camera will focus. Come over here with the white diamond. Just a quick charge. And again, just go through, flip it. I only do about half on each side, then flip it over and do the other half, because if you, although it's not so bad, I'm having a bit of luck, but if you catch that top edge there, it just flicks it out of your hand, and there you are. Lucky I had a good grip on it. I hate doing this. It doesn't seem too bad when you first start, but then when you think I've got 6 pieces, going through the 3 buffers, flipping it over and over and over again, it's just a pain in the arse. Alright, that's that. Now I'll reset the camera and move over to the other buffer. Right, on the lathe here, this is a small wheel. Oh, by the way, I think I forgot to mention to you before, the sandpaper I used to sand this on the upside down was 240 grit, which which is basically on raw MDF, 240 grit, and then straight onto the buffers. And already you could probably see, Jesus, I don't know how well that's focused, whether you can see the shine on it or not, but that's pretty good. And now I'll get onto the wax, and of course the bloody wax is in the other cupboard, so bear with me, I've got to walk around the camera. This is where I usually kick it over, swear like crazy, have another drink of vino, and off we go. Okay, set. That, by the way, is a slow speed bench grinder. When I say slow speed, I think it runs at about 1400 RPM. The lathe I've got, this is a variable Nova DVR lathe, and I can run it any speed I like. I run it at 2000, only because it's a small wheel, and the outside naturally of a small wheel at 2000 doesn't run or is comparable to a 1400 larger wheel or whatever, I don't know, haven't done the maths. Charge it up with a bit of wax. I do love the smell of this Canubra ore. The other two don't do much for me at all. Shit, I am bleeding. Good God. There we go, 1, 2. It pays to keep track of you. 3. Oh. I knew I cut myself, or well, I knew I dug the chisel into my hand, but I didn't expect it to make me bleed so well. The thing I don't like about these buffers is you can't get on the inside. I think I've got a small buffer somewhere that I've just bought recently that might get in there, but you can't see the inside anyway once the item's assembled, so I won't bother. As you can see, I don't sort of like go over it a hell of a lot, and that's it. Now again, I don't know how good the light is, and I'll find out how good this is when I go upstairs to glue up with the film. Yeah, that's what I mean, stitch the bloody things together, and that's when I find out how bad it is, what I've missed out on, and sometimes that's where I sort of put in some dubbing or subtitles over it. But I usually don't edit videos. I might shorten it, so if I can't find the on-off button for the camera, I might edit that out when I'm looking for it. And talking about on-off button, here we go, off. Hey, back again, finished buffing, ready to assemble. Let's see, one there, one here, one of those. God, again, I've got to get this into perspective. You'll find now that with the buffing, they should go together much easier, and being nice and shiny, they look good. They're a neat little thing. Now, getting onto this, yep, I lasered it. There's no reason why you can't, CNC it, which is probably more popular than laser, and you can quite easily cut this out of solid timber. Measurement should be available. The only trouble is if you cut it out of solid timber, the fit has to be quite precise, so you might have to do a lot of extra filing, and that'd be the best way to sneak up on some of the tighter tolerances. Or you don't really have to, you can actually make it quite loose and just stick it together. It doesn't have to be a super tight fit. So there you are. Now, having said that, as I said, this is my second video, and since then I've done a few attempts, so I shall go and get the brothers and sisters of these. Okay, back again, and as they say on the TV shows, here are some that I've made before, as he opens up the oven door. Good God, that rhymes. Hell, there you have it. Actually, I made two others, but they've already gone out the door with the people that showed interest in knowing how to do this. Because you've got to appreciate that this has taken a bit of a time to make. Wasn't done in 20 minutes or whatever the length of the video is, and many casks of vino, which had to be accompanied by complimentary sober up periods. Okay, boys and girls, that's it. As I said, it's a great little pattern. You can do it, well, laser you can do it because I've proved it. CNC you can do it. And if you're pretty handy with the scroll saw or whatever, you can do it yourself. And they are great little presents. As I say, they're not overly complex. It's not like, you know, some of these puzzles you can put down or give to someone, and if they're at all inclined, good God, how does this, that's it. If they're at all inclined, they could spend the next hours sitting there trying to solve it, then it's time to go home. With these, you can just give it to them, and as I said, only a couple of minutes and it should be solved. Should be. And not only that, they're easy to make, so you're more than happy to probably give it to them and let it take it home. Anyway, Christ, I've spoken enough. It's supposed to be a 5-minute video. Uru, have a good weekend, keep safe and whatever. Bye.